Right now at noon, new developments in the conflict between the U.S. and Iran. We've got the latest as President Trump prepares to brief Congress.
As expected, rain on radar. How much to expect and when it will move out ahead in your forecast.
And looming concerns over the acquisition of utility company AES. This is the service provider is planning to meet with residents to talk about service plans. We'll tell you what we know about the big sale.
Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime.
Airstrikes continue overseas as the U.S. and Israel target Iran. Meantime, the president is expected to brief lawmakers on the attacks later today. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at noon. We've got a lot to get to on this, including word that the FBI fired a dozen agents and staffers monitoring threats from Iran just days before the U.S. attacked. Sources told CNN FBI Director Kash Patel fired the workers because they previously investigated President Trump. The DOJ and FBI have not commented on those firings. And we're also hearing from the Iranian Red Crescent Society. That is Iran's primary government-mandated humanitarian organization. It says airstrikes by the U.S. and Israel have so far killed at least 787 people in Iran since the start of this conflict. Protesters have been rallying across India against the U.S.'s involvement in the strikes on Iran. This is a demonstration on Monument Circle last night. One side of the street urging Washington to stay out of the conflict, but the other side was packed with some that are glad the strikes happened. This comes as uncertainty grows over how long this operation will last.
I'm astounded at how some people think they're doing the right thing for their country by supporting two other countries from destroying their countrymen.
For some demonstrators, the issue is personal. Sam Nouri moved here 20 years ago from Iran. He says the people protesting don't fully understand the scope of this conflict.
Unfortunately, I don't know how many of those people are Iranian, or they know what is going on in Iran, or they live there. I live there. I know how it was and how it is to live under Islamic regime government. They have no idea that what kind of bad people those people are.
We're expecting to see more protests throughout the next few days on both sides of this. And we're keeping a close eye on all of the developments in the Middle East. We'll have more coming up at 12:15. We'll have a report from D.C. coming up in just a few minutes. And you can find more developments in this conflict online at WTHR.com. And we've got updates streaming on WTHR+. The conflict has just really upended air travel around the world, especially in the Mideast. The airport in Dubai is resuming limited flights today, but not fully open just yet. A Zionsville man is stuck in the UAE after witnessing missile strikes in Dubai over the weekend. Now he's hoping to come home. Ismaila Denai owns Oil Palace in Indy and travels to Dubai at least once a year for work. Now he's among thousands of travelers stranded there. When the airstrikes with Iran started last weekend, he tried to fly back to Indy, but wasn't able to do it.
When I get to the airport, the police was there yelling and screaming at people. And, I tell, hey, I am American. I pull up my passport. I am a U.S. citizen. I need to head home. They say, go back to your hotel. We'll update you.
He tells us he may be able to fly home tomorrow. His wife tells us she's checking in as much as possible to make sure he's safe. Certainly so. All right, to the weather now. Yesterday morning brought some heavy snow. Now we're getting you called it, Sean, a downpour of rain.
Yeah, we've really kind of flipped the script here, if you will, and this is really just the beginning. We've got some wet times ahead, my friends, so that's kind of the focus. Let's get you ready here. Show you the view from downtown as we look south Meridian Street. Rainy, yes, and a low cloud ceiling. So we're going to have areas of fog occasionally over the next 48 hours, in addition to what you're seeing on radar here. And that's the rain train. The tracks are laid down right across central Indiana. And that is going to put us in the bullseye of the heaviest rain across the country here, really the next 48 hours. Nothing severe about this right now. You may occasionally hear a rumble of thunder along this warm front here this afternoon. 41 in Indy. It's 57 this hour in Huntingtonburg and almost 60 degrees in Evansville, and that's the warm front. It's not a slow mover. It is creeping to the north, but along it we're going to see rounds of rain and at times some thunderstorms. This is what we're expecting in the 7-day window, pretty widespread, 3 to 5 inches. However, a sizable chunk of that is going to happen over the next 24 hours. We'll get you into tomorrow morning, 1.5 inches to locally over 2 inches. And then before Thursday evening, you can see between 2 and 4 right in this zone here, right across the central part of the state, including the Indy metro area. Areas flooding a possibility. We've got 70s, we've got rumbles of thunder, we've got some sunshine, all covered in the 7-day forecast in a few minutes.
Welcome to March. Yeah. All right, Sean, thank you. On the east side today, Metro Police are investigating how a car ended up crashing into a house. It happened this morning around 6:30. Let's give you a look here. This is at 37th and Emerson. You can see the car there was pulled out of the house by the time we got there. We haven't heard whether anyone was actually in the home at the time or if anyone was seriously hurt. Of course, when we learn more, we'll let you know here on the air and online. The Marion County coroner has identified the teenager hit and killed by a bus last weekend. Police tell us 14-year-old Ikeria Jones was running across the street at 38th and Post Road when she was struck. Happened around 9 o'clock Friday night. Medics rushed her to the hospital where she died. We're learning that a massive fire at the Marion VA Medical Center caused nearly $20 million in damage. We were there when the Marion, Indiana Fire Department was putting out the flames. Happened 2 weeks ago, just after 6 in the morning of February 21st. The fire impacting the engineering buildings, 51, 52, and 53 on the center's main campus. An investigation determined that the fire started in Building 53, which was undergoing renovations at the time and had the sprinkler system shut off. The cause remains undetermined. No injuries were reported and there was no impact to patient care. Tonight, the Fishers Police Department is hosting the first of several online safety talks for parents. This is going to be at the Fishers Police Department starting at 6. Parents, you can learn about recognizing the potential dangers while developing healthy digital habits for your kids. Children, by the way, are not allowed to attend, and you do have to register if you want to go. We've got a link to do that on our website, WTHR.com. And there are additional presentations if you can't make this one. Those will be held March 11th and then on April 2nd. The company providing electricity to Hoosier homes and businesses is changing ownership. Our Rich Nye explains who's buying AES Indiana and why some consumer advocates are worried customers will end up paying more for their power.
Under the acquisition, AES Indiana will still be a regulated utility monopoly, but the company would change from a publicly traded company to a privately held company.
A consortium led by Global Infrastructure Partners, a division of BlackRock, and EQT will acquire all of AES globally for $15 a share. That's more than a 40% premium for shareholders. The total transaction is about $10.7 billion. AES Indiana and AES Ohio will remain locally operated and manage regulated utilities.
The state gives the privilege of these monopoly franchises to these utilities. In exchange, they expect them to be good community partners, good corporate partners. And what is most frustrating about this is the state of Indiana and the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission have no say in approving or rejecting this deal, and that's simply not right.
Citizens Action Coalition fears an increased push for profits will come at an unfair cost to ratepayers. In Indianapolis, Rich Nye, 13 News.
The sale of AES is expected to close later this year or early in 2027.